Namashishtam manumapi shachiputram achasarupam rupam tasyagrajam urupanam mataram goshtavatam. Forgotten. Namashishtam manumapi shachiputram achasarupam rupam tasyagrajam urupanam mataram goshtavatam. I've forgotten. Prapto yasya pratita vipaya shri gurun tintam natosmi. This prayer is by Raghunath Das Goswami, and previously it's a prayer to Guru, and previously I heard in the Mat this was the prayer that they would chant at the time of initiation. But then later, with all the Westerners, they changed it to Om Jnana Timirandasya because it's more simple. So this is Srila Maharaj. He talks about this verse, and I think Sri Guru is grace, and it's by Raghunath Das Goswami, describing everything that he's received from Guru. Right, Namah Shreshtam, the Shreshta, the best name. The Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is given the holy name. Shachi Putram means the son of Mother Shachi, Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Srup Damodar, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Vrindavan, Govardhan, Radha Kunj, Prapto Yasya Patita Vipaya Shri Gurun Tam Natosmi. I've received everything by the grace of Guru. So sometimes devotees, they don't understand why in many of the prayers they're a little sad, right? Many of our songs are very sad. Oh, I'm so fallen, I'm so low, and I have nothing, and I'm so wicked. And sometimes devotees don't understand. But this verse is a very happy verse. This Prapto Yasya Pratita, saying, by the grace of Guru, I've got everything. I've attained, I've got everything. I'm not lacking for anything. So this is our, this is the significance of Guru in our life. They give us all these gifts, and we're so fortunate in this lifetime we could somehow have some connection to the lotus feet of our grandfather Guru, our Param Guru, Srila Bhakti Raksha, Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj, and his Su Siddhanta. Right? He's not only giving Siddhanta, right, perfect theological conclusions, but Su Siddhanta. The Su is an intensifier, meaning that very profound and very sweet, with much depth. Srila Sridhar Maharaj's godbrothers, they remarked about him that, when they heard from him, they felt like it's not that he's making up something different, right? When he was giving explanations, they felt what he's giving is fully in line with what our gurus have given, right? What the scriptures given, but it is fresh, it is fresh. That the name of Srila Sridhar Maharaj's village, right, Hapanya, sweet means sweet water, right? And there was one godbrother, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he commented that, that why is this place sweet? Because of the devotion, the siddhanta, right, the explanations of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. He is giving such sweetness. This is why this place is sweet and why the water is sweet. He made some comment like that. We are, we cannot say anything about Srila Sridhar Maharaj. We are like little kindergarten children. But we've heard, those who are qualified, what they have said about Srila Sridhar Maharaj, then we can get some idea. And another thing that comes to mind, this was in Hapanya. Our Gurudev, he had this mission once to identify the exact birthplace of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And actually it came by the inspiration of Jajavar Maharaj and others, I think it was a few. This, Srila Sridhar Maharaj was so highly revered, by his godbrothers. And they actually first, gave Gurudev encouragement. Oh, you should try to, establish something, like giving honor to the birthplace of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And that was a whole process, because Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he was the eldest child in the family, and so he was born before anyone else, right? So he didn't have any siblings who could tell Gurudev exactly where he was born, right? Only Srila Sridhar Maharaj would be able to say. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he, in his humility, he was very dismissive, right? He's like, why do you care about where I was born, right? Like, what are you doing? And there was a whole thing that happened, and Gurudev, he also there was one piece of land which was was it exactly where the birthplace? I think it was. It was owned by one of Srila Sridhar Maharaj's brothers, but it was as I recall, but it was like neglected, and like we've been mentioning these last few days, stories of how people go to the bathroom and right in India and in fields and stuff. We mentioned a few cases like that. So it was a bit of like a dirty place,
Devi Shari saying, please adjust the microphone.
Oh yeah?
Maybe take it out.
Okay. Thank you. I'll just put it here.
Yeah.
It's okay. It matches the garment.
Yeah.
And there was a whole thing like Gurudev, I can't remember the whole details, but there was like this whole drama that took place because Gurudev negotiated buying that land from Srila Sridhar Maharaj's brother, and Gurudev was trying to do it secretly, right? Because Srila Sridhar Maharaj wouldn't approve of that, and at one point Srila Sridhar Maharaj's brother came to Srila Sridhar Maharaj about it, like, oh, you want this piece of land? And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, no, I don't want this piece of land. This is what this boy is doing, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj was like a little irritated and like, what are you doing, and it was like very challenging for Gurudev. But finally, after like a lot of negotiation, like Gurudev was able to acquire this piece of land, and he brought Srila Sridhar Maharaj there to identify the exact spot where he was born. And that's where the deities are now, those Radha Gopinath deities there. So Gurudev, and there was this beautiful meeting it was like such a special meeting that took place where many of the godbrothers of Srila Sridhar Maharaj came also. Jajava Maharaj came for sure, and there were others. I don't remember who else was there. And they stayed for a few days. I mean, what an amazing gathering that would have been. Gurudev, Srila Sridhar Maharaj in Hapanya, with a number of the godbrothers of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And then Gurudev said, he described this meeting, and he said what happened was everyone was making comparisons to Varshana, right? They were seeing Varshana, the birthplace of Radharani. Like everyone was recognizing that Srila Sridhar Maharaj was carrying the current of Saraswati Thakur, Rupa Nuga Dara, right? And in that way, like he's that potency of Srimati Radharani, he's holding that, right? And he's coming as the representative of Radharani, like along these lines. And this was where they're just like the godbrothers of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, they were seeing him in this way, describing him in this way. And he mentioned, maybe it was Jajava Maharaj, like saying some of these songs, glorifying Radharani. Like, I was astonished when I heard that, Like, it's one thing for the disciple to honor their guru and see them with that vision, but for the godbrothers, that's an extraordinary thing. And so first Gurudev, he put a tulasi plant there in that spot, and first they had some simple structure, and then eventually by the service of the devotees, especially some of the Western devotees, Yudamanyu Prabhu and Aravinda Lochan Prabhu in particular, they gave a lot of donations for that, for the development of that temple. And Gurudev arranged that we would go there on Radhastami day every year And also, and then we were still doing that in the time when I was living in Navadvip. And also, the day after Srila Sridhar Maharaj's appearance day, so that would be tomorrow, then there would be just like Gurudev said, just like after Janmashtami, you have a festival, right? And after Gaur Purnima, the day after is the real festival, right? So Gurudev said also, we should honor Srila Sridhar Maharaj in this way. And so the day after Srila Sridhar Maharaj's appearance day, we would go there to Hapanya and hold a festival. And Gurudev was very, very happy in Hapanya. I never got the chance to go, with Gurudev. Of course, I went a number of times, but we heard Gurudev talking about how, like, he felt very, very happy, very worry-free in Hapanya. And he said, I get some headache in Calcutta, I get some headache in Navadvip, but in Hapanya I'm very peaceful, very happy. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj used to joke with him that, Hapanya is your mat. And if Gurudev was, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj would be very happy if he went there. Like if Gurudev was going to Calcutta, right, we heard stories, right? Srila Sridhar Maharaj would send someone sometimes to bring him back, halfway there, or when he's already there, send someone to tell him to come back, right? But when he went to Hapanya, he was very happy. He would say to him when he's going, you're going to your mat, like that, And we also heard this, since we're talking about Hapanya now, because like with the Lord, right? Everything connected with the Lord is transcendental. So also with the pure Vaishnavas, right? So like we were singing, right? Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jive Doya Kodi Swaparshada Swiya Dhamma Saha Avatari, right? When the Lord comes, He comes with His holy abode, He comes with His associates, right? Everything connected with the Lord is transcendental. So also with these Vaishnavas, right? Today we're honoring the time, right, of His appearance. That date is purified now, because of His appearance on this, mercifully appearing on this day. But, so Hapanya, also Krishna Das Babaji Maharaj, he liked to go there very much. Krishna Das Babaji, he was one of the close godbrothers of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. He's the one who's famous for his kirtan. He had a very special kirtan voice. I play sometimes. And he was like a real Babaji. He didn't stay in one place. He was always traveling, and he liked Nam Bhajan. He liked to take the name. That was his seva. And he would always come and visit Srila Sridhar Maharaj for maybe like a couple months in the year. He would stay, at least 1 month or something. He would stay at our mat, and he'd go back and forth between Navadvip and Vrindavan and visit different godbrothers. But whenever he came to Navadvip, he would always go and visit Hapanya. It was like a pilgrimage for him, to go to Hapanya. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj asked him once, why are you going to Hapanya? Like, why would you go there? And Krishnadas Babaji told him, because your writings are non-different from Rupa Goswami. He said, your writings are non-different from Rupa Goswami. It is quite extraordinary, what type of regard, they had for him. Very high regard. There's that in Yati Rajeshwara, there's that in Gurudev's composition glorifying Srila Sridhar Maharaj. He describes him, amongst sannyasi kings, you are the emperor. Like amongst so many kings, he was the emperor, the king of kings, right? And Gurudev also described him as a king maker. So what type of power is that, right? You can make kings, right? Because he didn't want that in that position, right, of being a leader. And in the beginning, the Gaudiya Math became very broken, right, went in many directions, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj ended up withdrawing, right, and he was kind of like in hiding, when he went to stay in Navadvip, he was a little bit in hiding. And his godbrothers were looking for him, and because they had the vision that they'll make a new mission with Srila Sridhar Maharaj as the head. and they found him eventually in Navadvip, and they've requested him at that time, please, you will take this position, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he said, I really don't want that position, but you become gurus, you become acharyas, and it was like he empowered them, and he gave sannyas to quite a number of them. Bhakti Saranga Goswami Maharaj, he was a very powerful preacher in the Gaudiya Math. From one perspective, you could say he had a more senior position than Srila Sridhar Maharaj, a lot of influence in the mission. He took sannyas from Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Right. Keshav Maharaj, he took sannyas. He was Vinod Bihari, also a very powerful person in the Gaudiya Math, and there were many who took from him. And Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, of course, wanted to, but Srila Sridhar Maharaj declined, because he was very close with his family, and he was worried about some family complications and some unfriendly knocks on his door. So he sent him to Keshav Maharaj, right, who he'd given the sannyas mantra to. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he empowered, they all became acharyas, right? But many of them was because Srila Sridhar Maharaj empowered them, and he blessed them, he gave sannyas to many of them. And there was this one famous assembly, it was Goswami Maharaj, I'm pretty sure. Goswami Maharaj was a very powerful preacher. It's kind of interesting too, because Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he amongst his peers, like his godbrothers, he had the most powerful position, you could say. He was most highly respected, right? But his mat was the poorest and the smallest, right? Because he wasn't compromising, for one thing. He wasn't trying to make a sweet, cover for people. He was very, very strict, and his idea was he's continuing his service to his guru, and if anyone comes to him and is happy to go along with the ride, then he'll give them shelter, right? But he wasn't strategizing, how to bring people and preaching, not at all. He was doing his bhajan, doing his service, and whoever wants to come and can tolerate his standard, then they can come, they can stay. So, but he had so many godbrothers, who had big, powerful missions. They had multiple mats and many followers. Or Madhav Maharaj was another one who had so much reverence for Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And I believe he didn't, because of some social reasons, he didn't take sannyas from Srila Sridhar Maharaj, but Srila Sridhar Maharaj gave him his sannyas name, from what I can recall. Madhav Maharaj was very powerful preacher. Goswami Maharaj was also very powerful, and there were others. Jajra Maharaj, Madhusudan Maharaj. So there was this one. There was this one gathering they would have every year in the Navadvip Math, Vishva Vaishnava Raja Sabha. It means an assembly of the king-like Vaishnava, something like that. And I believe it was something originally established by Jiva Goswami, where leading Vaishnavas would come together and share news and take advice, consult with one another. And so they started doing this in our Math every year after Gaur Purnima, as I recall. And so all the leading, all of these acharyas from different Gaudiya missions, they would come and have this big grand assembly at our Math, and they would share news and like that, and consult, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he would always give the presidential chair to Goswami Maharaj. And in one year when they had this meeting, Goswami Maharaj, he was glorifying Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and he used this expression, Simhavalokan, means the glance of a lion. And he described, I think you heard this before, Gurudev mentioned a few times, and he said that when a lion is walking on the plain, it's very strong, taking very powerful, strong strides, going forward. But the lion is also cautious, and every now and again, the lion will look behind to see how far it's come and everything's okay, and then go forward again, right? And so Goswami Maharaj, it's a very apt analogy, right? Because he was comparing himself and all these big preachers in the Gaudiya Math to these lions, like lion-like preachers, like going out and attaining so much in the world and doing so much preaching and building so many temples, right? Bringing so many people and so on. But every now and again, they would check in with Srila Maharaj, right? So he's saying, like, we all want to know that Sridhar Maharaj is happy with us, that his grace is with us. So, that type of regard, they had for him. And it's very interesting, this Goswami Maharaj, right? They had, like when you hear about these Vaishnavas, you really learn about, it's very inspiring to hear about the way they express, Vaishnava principles, humility, and so on. It's very, very instructive and very inspiring. But and very sweet. So this Goswami Maharaj, right, when he would come for this assembly at Srila Sridhar Maharaj's Math, then Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he would give him the presidential chair, right, as I mentioned. But then another thing was that every year Goswami Maharaj would have a Vyasa Puja in his Math in Calcutta. And he would invite Srila Sridhar Maharaj as the guest of honor. And all the donations, all the presents, all the gifts, the pranami that the disciples of Goswami Maharaj gave to him, he would give everything to Srila Sridhar Maharaj. So they had this very beautiful Vaishnava exchange, right? And then famously there was that one year that Srila Sridhar Maharaj, Goswami Maharaj requested him, please come, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj said he was in poor health, he could not attend this year. And Goswami Maharaj, he said, every year Sridhar Maharaj comes and he blesses me with another year in this world. And this year he could not come, and I think this will be my last year, he said. And it happens like that. It happens like that. That was Goswami Maharaj. And then Madhav Maharaj, he was also a very powerful preacher. And Gurudev told this one very nice story with Madhav Maharaj that, as I said, like he was like very big, powerful preacher and many disciples. But when he would come to visit Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he would rest on this like torn, like thin mattress in Srila Sridhar Maharaj's room on the floor. And Srila, like after they took prasad in the afternoon, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj would tell him, oh, you can take my bed, I'll go outside, I'll go somewhere else, you take my bed. And he would insist. And Gurudev told him also once, oh Maharaj, please don't lay like this, like on the ground in this torn, thin mattress, old mattress. And Guru Maharaj will give you his bed. And Madhav Maharaj told Gurudev, he said, you cannot imagine how much peace I have, like lying here, at Sridhar Maharaj's feet on this ripped mattress. I get so much peace, And it was also that Madhav Maharaj, we heard this story too, about Madhav Maharaj, because he was very strict, and he would tell all his disciples not to read the newspaper. But one time he came to visit Srila Sridhar Maharaj with some of his disciples, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj was reading the newspaper. And so Madhav Maharaj told his disciples, like, his reading of the newspaper is equal to reading the Veda. Very, very sweet, sweet relationships. And of course, we heard so many stories from Gurudev about the relationship with Swami Maharaj Prabhupada. Because Gurudev mentioned that, actually, Srila Swami Maharaj, he didn't have so much association with his own guru, right? Like maybe 10 days he had association with Srila Saraswati Thakur. And so his relationship with Srila Sridhar Maharaj was very important. And as he said himself, right, he considered Srila Sridhar Maharaj to be his Shiksha Guru. Right? And he would always consult with Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and he would send news or also asking questions, when he was in the West, preaching in the West. And there was that one occasion, Gurudev told, when Srila Swami Maharaj felt like he was going to leave the world. And he was in America at the time. And he felt his health was very poor. And he was in a dilemma because his heart's desire was to leave the world in Vrindavan. Right? Remember Gurudev told that. He wanted to leave in Vrindavan. But he's in America and he has so much service in America. So he was conflicted. Like, should I leave my service, go to Vrindavan, or should I just stay here? And so what does he do? He writes a letter to Srila Sridhar Maharaj, asking for his... He actually wrote it to Gurudev, which is very sweet. He was very close with Gurudev, saying, you please ask Sridhar Maharaj. Not direct. and Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he sent that reply, that is your Prabhu Datta Desh, like that is the lands, America is the lands of service given to you by your Guru, right? That is your land of service. So that is Vrindavan for you. Vrindavan is not just a geographical place. Right? Vrindavan is a plane of consciousness. So wherever you leave, you will be in Vrindavan. And Srila Swami Maharaj, he said, in the absence of my Guru, I will take Sridhar Maharaj's instruction upon my head. And so he stayed in America. And in the end, his health recovered, and then later he was able to leave in Vrindavan, right, as he wished. So, very, very, very dear and very respected, by his godbrothers. And what to speak of, Saraswati Thakur himself, right? He expressed very high praise of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Shastra Nipun Sridhar, he called him, means expert in the scripture, Sridhar. There was some incident once, there was like an era in one of the publications about one of the titis. I don't remember the exact details. There was some error, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj could understand that it was incorrect, so he told the editors, "Oh, please correct." And it was like a very fine point. And Saraswati Thakur came to hear about it, and he was very impressed, and he called him that Shastra Nipun Sridhar. And then another, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj was someone, because Saraswati Thakur's talks were very difficult to follow. Like if you look at some of his English articles, like his introduction to Brahma Samhita, which by the way everyone should read because Gurudev loved that introduction. It's very cool. And you need a dictionary. We were talking about like difficult English words, right? So you definitely need a dictionary to read that. This is his original English. But Gurudev wanted that introduction to be included in our edition. But for whatever reason, the editors left it out. But we know Gurudev wanted, he liked it very much. So his talks were very, and that was kind of deliberate, He was presenting things in a very sophisticated and dignified way, right? And in the context of a time when Vaishnavism had become degraded, right? That's a whole other... Don't get me started. So his talks were very difficult. Most of his disciples, they couldn't really follow him very well. And even Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, he mentioned very humbly and honestly, he said, I could not always understand my Guru Maharaj, but I continued hearing. I would continue listening, but I could not always understand. And so we hear that Srila Sridhar Maharaj and also Ananta Vasudev, they were kind of like the two brilliant minds in the Gaudiya Math, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he was also very like merciful and very accessible, and so persons would often go to Srila Sridhar Maharaj. They'd like crowd after there was a talk. They would go to Srila Sridhar Maharaj and ask him, what did Prabhupada say? What did our Guru Maharaj say? And Srila Sridhar Maharaj would explain, But Gurudev mentioned that there's this one talk, it's very sweet. Gurudev's talking about some points of Srila Sridhar Maharaj's horoscope, and how he has this very like sweet combination of qualities where there's like this supreme brilliance, right? But then there's also this like gentleness and childlike simplicity also. And he mentioned that Srila Sridhar Maharaj was very open in his nature, right? And so he would like mix with all the different devotees, like the junior devotees, the new devotees, the senior devotees, and he was very like simple in his dealings. And Ananta Vasudev was his good friend. Ananta Vasudev, he was like, Saraswati Thakur made a comment about him that he knows what I'm going to say next, right? Like when no one else can understand what he said in the first place, Ananta Vasudev knows what Saraswati Thakur is going to say next. I think that's how brilliant he was. And in fact, Gurudev mentioned, everybody thought that Ananta Vasudev was going to be the successor to Saraswati Thakur. But that wasn't the case. And then there was, Saraswati Thakur did not make a clear, like official announcement about his succession. But when he was leaving the world, there was that incident, right, when he requested Srila Sridhar Maharaj to sing this song, Sri Rupa Manjari Pada, and which is the sacred anthem of the Rupa Nuga Gaudiya Vaishnavas, right? And so everyone present, they could understand, Saraswati Thakur is making a very clear indication how his line will continue. And of course later Ananta Vasudev, unfortunately, he deviated in an unfortunate way. But they were good friends, Srila Sridhar Maharaj and Ananta Vasudev. But Gurudev mentioned Ananta Vasudev would sometimes be a little irritated with Srila Sridhar Maharaj, because he'd be like, you're my friend, and you're like just hanging out with anybody and everybody, like. But he had this simplicity about him. Like he was very unassuming, right? He didn't carry himself, like I'm a great Gaudiya Acharya, right? Gurudev also mentioned how I mentioned the other day, right? Like Saraswati Thakur, he was very strong in his preaching. He was a revolutionary, right? And he was, very, like we told that story. There was this, and like the thing is, like he was very bold and strong, but he had such a strong spiritual presence that people would accept him, right? And we mentioned the story the other day. He's at a university speaking to students and professors. This is in Dhaka, in what's now Bangladesh. And he quotes in this like big public talk at the university. He quotes this line of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, saying that all mundane knowledge makes an ass of the soul. Like he's telling this to university professors, and everybody accepted it because he had so much potency. That was Saraswati Thakur's style, very strong, right? And Gurudev mentioned that like many of the disciples of Saraswati Thakur, they kind of like they followed his style. I don't want to say imitated, maybe that's the wrong word, but they followed his like style, like kind of cutting and strong. And he said, Gurudev said, but Guru Maharaj, he was not like that. Like he had his own style, very gentle, you know. Like also strong, like clear, logical, but more gentle, right? And he had more of an unassuming nature. He was incredible. He could defeat anyone. Srila Sridhar Maharaj could defeat anyone. And even one time he defeated someone who Saraswati Thakur could not defeat. You know? Because there was some occasion, and Gurudev said, because Guru Maharaj, part of his service, like he would they were like going door to door, right? Like, and he meeting all kinds of different people. And so Srila Sridhar Maharaj became very well acquainted, like with different people's mentalities, and so he was very and of course because of his own expertise, right? So he could and also Gurudev mentioned Srila Sridhar Maharaj, like part of his style was like a lawyer. He liked to hear what's the other person's argument fully, and then he will conquer. You know, like a good lawyer needs to know what's the defense, right? What's your case, and then I make my case, right? Gurudev told us one story. There was this group of pundits, and where was it again? I forget the name of the place. It was where Jajava Maharaj had a temple, and this one pundit for 2 hours he gave his questions to Srila Sridhar Maharaj. 2 hours. And Gurudev said Srila Sridhar Maharaj was counting. Like that. On his hand. He was counting. It was like 2 hours asking questions. And then afterwards he perfectly satisfied him. And that was actually how our Shalagram Shila, right? Because they were so happy, they wanted to give a gift, so they gave a Shalagram Shila to Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And actually, because Shalagram Shila is Vishnu, and we're a little shy with Vishnu, and so Srila Sridhar Maharaj he tried to avoid, and so he gave that deity to Jajava Maharaj to worship in his temple. But then they started to have all these mysterious problems in the temple, and they said, "Oh, we think we cannot handle this deity, and you please take this deity." And Srila Sridhar Maharaj still tried to avoid, and he said, "Oh, you give to Goswami Maharaj's ma. Goswami Maharaj is like Lord Shiva." Gurudev mentioned, Goswami Maharaj is like Lord Shiva, he can digest anything. And so Goswami Maharaj took the Shalagram. And again, they had like similar, strange, I never heard details on what kind of problems, but like very mysterious things would happen. And so then Goswami Maharaj contacted Srila Sridhar Maharaj, "Oh, you please take your deity." And finally, then Gurudev was sent to collect. And they looked on the, because every Shalagram Shila represents a different avatar of Vishnu. And you can tell by the markings. And so Srila Sridhar Maharaj asked Gurudev, like, "You please," and probably because Srila Sridhar Maharaj actually had very poor eyesight, right? So he asked Gurudev, like, you find out, right? So Gurudev looked, and he was thinking Varaha Dev, and he checked in the, I think it's the Korma Purana, there's some scripture that describes all the markings, and it was Varaha Dev. But what's so miraculous is that Varahadev is the presiding deity of, Varahadev is the boar incarnation of Vishnu. And Varahadev is the presiding deity of Koladweep, the island where our temple is. So then they could understand, Varahadev wanted to come to his own home, like this is his place. Right? So Srila Sridhar Maharaj gave some special instructions to the pujari to keep him happy and make this special sweet rice for him every day, and some Vidhi Marg, has to be a Brahmin who takes care of him, like this.
And that's the Shalagram Srila that's there now.
Yes, yeah. We worship Govardhan Shila, really. So it's like a kind of like a special case. Srila Sridhar Maharaj didn't want to have the Shaladram Shila, but he wanted to come. Yeah, Srila Sridhar Maharaj started the Math with like 2 or 3 Govardhan Shilas. That is our conception. But then having Vishnu gives some dignity also, I'd say. Like Saraswati Thakur, as I understand, he would include the worship of Shalagram Shilas. I think part of his reason was to show the non-difference, Krishna, Vishnu, and that ultimately Krishna is the original, something like that. But yeah, Srila Sridhar Maharaj was very expert in debate, and there was that one occasion, I didn't finish that story, when Srila Saraswati Thakur was discussing with someone. And remember, right, this is something we have to remember, like in India there's a whole tradition of like theological debate and philosophical debate. It's like something they'll do for fun, right? It's not like people getting into an argument or
like a chess game.
Yeah, like that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, like a chess game. That's a really good way of putting it. There's a whole culture of this, and there are these pundits. I think this culture is kind of dying out now, but there would be these pundits, like their whole occupation, they'd be traveling around India, meeting other pundits and debating with them, so, it's not just like about getting into an argument or proving that you're right. It's like a very honorable, culture. But anyway, there was this one person who was discussing with some points with Saraswati Thakur, and this man could not be convinced. Saraswati Thakur could not convince him. And Saraswati Thakur was becoming a little frustrated, and he told Srila Sridhar Maharaj to speak with him. And within like 30 minutes, that man accepted. He could, when Srila Sridhar Maharaj presented it, then he accepted. We heard quite a few stories from Gurudev like that. He had this quality to really touch people. And it wasn't just because he was expert in like argument or discussion, but it was his potency also. Like Gurudev told this one time, it was at Badarik Ashram in the Himalayas, and Gurudev went there like as part of his, he was doing these tours, right, to raise money for pilgrimage tours, to raise money for the temple. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj went maybe like once or twice. And this one time Srila Sridhar Maharaj went, and he was unwell. He had like a very high fever. And there were some of Srila Sridhar Maharaj's godbrothers also. Oh, this is falling now. There were some of Srila Sridhar Maharaj's godbrothers also there who joined the parikrama. And so there was this one occasion, Srila Sridhar Maharaj is in his room, right? He's got this high fever, he's resting, and this one pundit comes to the residence where they're staying, and he'd heard about Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and he wanted to have some debate with him, and they said, oh, well, he's not well, we can try and speak with you, and he wanted to have proof that the Atma, the soul, or God exists, like the plane of Atma, the plane of spirit. What's the proof? And so some of the godbrothers of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, right, they're there, and they said, oh, we can try and discuss with you, and so they're having some discussion going on back and forth, and went on for some time. The man's not satisfied. And meanwhile, Srila Sridhar Maharaj is in the next room, and he's hearing everything. And then at a certain point, they heard Srila Sridhar Maharaj's voice, and Gurudev was putting on his voice, like, bring him here. He's like weak, right? And he like sat up in his bed, like, bring him here. And so they brought that man into the room, and within like 20 minutes, Srila Sridhar Maharaj convinced him. And he quoted this one verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, Atma Pariyana Mayo Vivado. And it's like essentially the verse is saying that Some say the soul exists, others say it doesn't exist. And this debate will continue forever, because those who have eyes to see, they will see, and those who don't have eyes to see, they won't see. Right? That's more or less what it's saying. It's like a simple statement, right? And that was the verse that Srila Maharaj explained to him. And that man, he was like a very learned man. And he said, Maharaj, I know that verse. But the way in which you've expressed it to me, like the vitality, the spiritual potency with which you're expressing that to me, that's what's really touching me. So he had that capacity. Another very nice story with Srila Sridhar, there was that man, right? And this was in the Navadvip area. He came from I think it was a Brahmin family, and they were very wealthy people. And
you should put the mic up here.
Well, what happened to it?
It's in between.
Oh.
On the top, right?
Okay, we're going to have to work this one out. It's the first time we're using this. Sorry, everyone. Uh-oh, I think this is coming off.
You're not there.
Okay. We're not professional. We're not here for the organization. Srila Maharaj, he mentioned that. He said when he came to the Gaudiya Math, well, he joined when it was like a tiny little room in Calcutta. He said, I didn't come because of a fancy building, And there was another incident in Vrindavan. There was like some issues with the organization, all side of things, and there was some comment like, we didn't come for the organization. So it gives me some relief sometimes, because we're not always so organized. So this one gentleman, or not so gentlemanly gentleman in Navadvip, like he was very degraded. Came from like a good family, but wine and women and so on, and bad association. Like, well, I won't say that because I'll spoil it. And what happened is was it his wife first, or was it her father? I think maybe it was his wife, but they knew about Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and they were thinking, if he can have the darshan of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and then he will be purified. And so it was his wife and his father-in-law, I believe. They like kind of tricked him, and to like come, and they said, let's go for a walk on the bank of the Ganges, and then, look at this nice mat here, let's go in and visit, And I think that was the same time, I think that it was that time, in fact, that Gurudev told that it could have been a different occasion, but Srila Sridhar Maharaj, like I was saying, like very simple in his manner, and he's out like fixing the fence, and wearing like some old, like ripped, like dhoti, and I think like no upper cloth, and so they're like, we're looking for, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj asking, can I help you? And where is Sridhar Maharaj? And you want Sridhar Maharaj? And this is Srila Sridhar Maharaj. So he goes into his room, and he took like his uttariya, like his upper cloth, and he like dusts himself off and comes out, I'm Sridhar Maharaj, They're very surprised. I think it was that same occasion. So they brought that man to Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and he explains this verse, and it's a famous verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, Labdva sudurlabam idam bahu sambhavante manushyam artadam anityam apiha dhira. And it's describing how, when you've attained this very rare human birth, you should take full advantage of it, right? That you can have sense pleasure in the animal species of life, but in this life, torn, there's this one line, Tornam yateta napateta namritya javan, because immediately, as long as you have not fallen down and died, as long as you have some breath in your body, you should endeavor for your highest good. So he gave this 20-minute explanation of this verse, and that man was so moved, so touched, and he went out from that completely transformed his life, completely changed his life. And I think he took initiation from Srila Sridhar Maharaj. But then, a few days later, the barber of that man, his barber of all people, he came to see Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and he said, we've heard of occurrences like this with Mahaprabhu, like rescuing Jagai and Madai, right? And now you're so powerful, you're doing the same thing. Because he saw the change. And he said, now I see him. Before he was very degraded, and he was like an alcoholic, a womanizer. And now he's all clean shaven and wearing dhoti and kurta, chanting on his japamala. And his barber was completely astonished to see that. So he had this power, to move people, touch them, right? And not just as in an intellectual way, And you hear that, right? We have Divya Sharididi with us. She had the direct darshan. She's not there anymore. But we hear on the tapes, right? We're so fortunate with this modern technology. And how gentle, how tolerant, how patient he is. And many times, you hear him, someone asks a question and he answers, and then he says, do you understand? He's genuinely wanting to connect with the heart of that person. Do you understand? And Saraswati Thakur, of course, he wanted him to go to the West, right? Because there was another sannyasi, right, who had been sent to England, but when he was in England, he became influenced, right, and he cut off his shika, and maybe he even stopped wearing his sannyas dress and threw his danda into the Thames. We hear. And Saraswati Thakur was very disappointed. It was he sent him to share Mahaprabhu's message, but he got influenced by them, right? And so then it didn't go so well, and then Saraswati Thakur asked Srila Sridhar Maharaj, right, if he would go, and as we know, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he humbly declined, and he said, I cannot. He had a Brahminical disposition. Right? He said, I cannot mix so freely with the Westerners, right? And I cannot follow their intonation, he also said. His English was extraordinary, but the accent was a little difficult. So he very humbly declined, right? And afterwards, many of his godbrothers, they were very impressed, and they approached him, saying, they were very, he was given this big opportunity, to be a big star, preacher in the West, right? And so they were very impressed, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj, she made some comment all I want is that I will be considered a sincere follower of Mahaprabhu. That's the only thing that I want. I don't need any big name or anything. But another comment that someone made was, do you know why Prabhupada wanted you to go? And he said, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, yes, because I cannot be converted.
He said something like that, like my Guru Maharaj knows I'm fully fixed here, right? I'm fully fixed here. I cannot be converted. And of course, we didn't say anything about his writings, right? And that was another comment of Saraswati Thakur, right? That when he read his Bhakti Vinod Viraha Dashakam, and it's very interesting because this Bhakti Vinod Viraha Dashakam, it was the first thing that Srila Sridhar Maharaj wrote when he joined the Gaudiya Math. But it's not talking about his guru, right? He's talking about his guru's guru, which is a little like, it may seem a little odd, right? But it was like a strategy of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Because he thought, if I glorify, Prabhupada directly, he will maybe give me, a little pat on the head, But he's not so interested in himself, right? So if I would glorify his guru, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he mentioned in one place that Saraswati Thakur, he showed how much earnestness it is possible to have for one's guru. Like Saraswati Thakur's everything was Bhakti Vinod Thakur. He was so completely devoted to Bhakti Vinod Thakur. And so he understood he could capture his heart if he glorified him. There was one comment that, and Gurudev, he also followed that strategy one time. There was this one Bengali talk he gave once, and it was Srila Sridhar Maharaj's appearance day. And he spent some time glorifying Saraswati Thakur, because he said, and Guru Maharaj will be happy if I glorify his guru. But there was this one talk, or some conversation, Saraswati Thakur mentioned that if you really want to make someone happy, you have to capture their heart. Right? You have to touch their heart. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he heard that, and he was thinking, I want to make my guru happy. So he was meditating on that, like, how can I really touch his heart? And then it came to him, I will glorify his guru. And then he will be very happy. And it worked, right? And he was like, he's like 27, 28, 29. He was very young when he wrote this Bhakti Vinod Viraha Dashakam. It's an incredible, brilliant composition. And so we hear that someone like read these verses. Srila Sridhar Maharaj presented it, and Saraswati Thakur had someone read it to him. And Srila Saraswati Thakur was making different comments as he heard. And there was one verse, I think it was the one saying like so many great acharyas. It's an incredible composition, right? But one of the verses saying what so many acharyas, so many great acharyas have come in the past, and they've Ramanuja, right, Madhvacharya, they've given so many great things, but what you have to give is even more, right? And then in the next verse he's speaking about, he's giving, conception of Krishna, Vrindavan, right? And then I think it's the 9th verse or the 8th verse. Then he's speaking about the ultimate gift of Bhakti Vinod Thakur, which is Radha Dasyam, the service of Srimati Radharani. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, Saraswati Thakur, he made a comment, happy style. I think it was that verse where he was saying, you're giving even more than all these other great acharyas. He said, made a comment, happy style. But then this verse, Shri Gauranumatam Sarupa Vitam Rupa Grajanaditam Rupa Jai Pariveshitam Raghuganer Shvaditam Sevitam. I'm missing Shuka Shiva Brahmadi Samanitam Shri Radha Pada Sevanamritam Hota Datam Shobhavan. It's the most amazing. I mean, I think I think it's just one of the most amazing things that has ever appeared in this world. It's the most amazing verse. And it's saying, like, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, like, your glorious gift is you can give the service of Srimati Radharani. But what he's doing in this verse, it's so brilliant. He's placing, like, all of the important acharyas in the line of Mahaprabhu, right? Like, what is their relationship in connection with the distribution of this gift of Radha Dasi, right? So what Mahaprabhu, Shigoranumatam, like what Mahaprabhu came to give, what was the heart of Mahaprabhu, what was known Sarupa Viditam, what Swarup Damodar knew, Rupa Grajenajitam, what was adored by Sanatana Goswami, the older brother of Rupa, Rupa Dhyaipa, what is distributed by Rupa Goswami, Raghuganer, what Raghunath and his group have tasted and enhanced. Then Jiva Goswami is protecting, right? And like, this is another thing about Srila Sridhar Maharaj's writings, like, they're so tight, they're so concise. Like, if you unpack that, there's so much. I mean, we could sit for hours unpacking this one verse, right? How is he describing Jiva Goswami as the protector? That's a whole hour talk. How is Raghunath Das Goswami tasting and enhancing? That's another hour talk, right? How is Rupa Goswami distributing? That's another hour talk. I mean, and Srila Sridhar Maharaj is so perfectly crystal clear and concise, and sweet, and with sweet poetry at the same time. It's so brilliant. What Jiva Goswami is protecting, and what Shukadev, Lord Brahma, Shiva, they're worshipping from afar. They can't even touch this. They're from a distance. They're giving their respects. That, oh wonder of wonders, oh Bhakti Vinod, you can give that. Like, so who are you? Right? Who are you, Bhakti Vinod Thakur? And sorry, we hear Saraswati Thakur was so pleased when he heard that, and he commented, now I'm satisfied, that is that thing still there? Yeah. Now I'm satisfied that when I leave this world, one man will remain behind, right? Who understands what I came to give. Very big statement. And I heard Srila Sridhar Maharaj mentioning too that he was referring to that moment in the last hours of Saraswati Thakur when he called for Srila, he'd like deliberately called for him to sing this song, Shri Rupa Manjari Pada. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj mentioned, I heard him mention this, that perhaps it was on the basis of that verse that I wrote. Like he had such confidence in me because of that verse that I wrote. So that's the Bhakti Vinod Viraha Dashakam. And then, of course, there's the Prapana Jivanamrita, right? Our Gurudev describes as the crown jewel, right, of all divine literatures, right? And some of the godbrothers of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, when they saw that book, Gurudev mentioned one godbrother, he had a practice of reading a chapter of Bhagavad Gita every day. And when this Prapana Jivanamrita was published, and he changed to reading a chapter of Prapana Jivanamrita every day. It is the most extraordinary composition. And so many other things. The Prema Dhamma Devastotram, and these are like fine Sanskrit compositions. Like the sweetness is there, the philosophy, the ontology is there, the poetry is there. They're so perfect in so many ways. And of course, Srila Sridhar Maharaj has also given such profound explanations. Explanations which weren't revealed before, right? Bhagavad Gita, Gayatri Mantra. And one of the things that I appreciate so much is that Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he has this way of explaining things that just brings them to life. It's like he makes you think about things in a different way, right? Like this isn't, and this is no longer just like, a religion or a practice, but it's like he brings it to your front door, right? He brings things into the world of your own practice, your own, like it becomes relevant. He makes it very relevant, And then he'll say, it's like he'll give an explanation sometimes. It's like simultaneously very simple, but incredibly profound at the same time, Like one that I appreciate very much, very simple. He says, divine means dedication, Like we like to throw these fancy words around and go, this is divine, this is transcendental. But what does that actually mean? And he said, like at the root of what is divine is dedication. Like substantially speaking, the more we're in the spirit of dedication, the more we're approaching divinity. And the more we're in the spirit of exploitation, the more we are approaching moving towards the mundane, right, material. So very, eye-opening, heart-touching, wonderful explanations that activate us, right? And so many, so many great souls, they have so much reverence. They recognize, right, who is Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Maybe we'll stop here. The glories of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, they're unlimited. Just saying a few words, what we've heard from our Gurudev. Does anyone else here want to have anything they want to share? I'm very happy to be here with our wonderful Hungarian devotees. It feels more and more day by day like this is like a room of Shitashanya Saraswat, by the mood and service of Kanu Priya Didi and all the devotees. It feels like something very beautiful is manifesting, right, actually. It is by their will, right, by their will. One room, one branch of Sri Chaitanya Saraswat is appearing here in Hungary. In a miraculous way, it feels. It is living, right? That's another thing, right? Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he's not that he's died, but his mercy is very present, right? And we're connecting with that line of mercy through Srila Govinda Maharaj. That's also important, right, for us to mention. Whatever Srila Sridhar Maharaj had, everything that he had, he gave it fully to Srila Govinda. And not just gave, but like forcefully gave. Like Gurudev didn't want to take the chair. But Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he practically blackmailed Gurudev. He said, if you don't take this chair, I will die. He said, I will break my temple, I'll give the deities to one of my godbrothers, I'll close this temple, and I will die. And that was after like 30 years of Srila Sridhar Maharaj requesting him, take sannyas, take this position. And then he put him in the chair 2 years before he left the world, which is unheard of. That's not how things normally go. They'll leave a declaration of their will, and after the Acharya will leave, then their successor will take the position. But Srila Sridhar Maharaj wanted it to be very clear, make Gurudev's position very strong. And so our Gurudev, he's holding all the wealth of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he has his own unique wealth, his own unique sweetness. So, through Srila Govinda Maharaj, we feel, we have the mercy, we have the line, connection with the line of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. So we're very fortunate we can have the privilege of remembering something, right, of his divine glories on this day. Have some connection to his service. Jai Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Tadiya Shubha Avirbhav Mahamhotsava ki Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Deva Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai. Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharva Govinda Sundar Ju ki jai. Shri Saraswati Sridhar Govinda Seva Kunj ki jai. All the assembled devotees ki jai. All the world devotees ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Jai Gaur Premanande.